God helps me with suffering. The Bible records a variety of images that God used to reveal himself to people. For the people of Israel, he led them with a cloud of smoke and a pillar of fire. To Moses, he spoke from a bush that burned but was never consumed. At one point, Jesus used the imagery of a hen who gathers her chicks under her wing for protection to describe his feelings for the people of Jerusalem. But perhaps one of the most moving images is of God as our shepherd. But if God is our shepherd, that makes us his sheep. We are sheep. That's not exactly a compliment. They are not the sharpest animal in God's creation. Sheep are not a symbol of courage or independence. The unique relationship they form with their shepherd is evidence of their vulnerability and dependence on him. We don't like to admit that we're weak and vulnerable, but it's true. God is our shepherd because we are vulnerable and we need him. The Bible isn't sentimental or idealistic about our vulnerability. To be vulnerable means we often suffer and we don't possess the power or control to fix the situation ourselves. The men and women of the Bible often suffered. They suffered from the consequences of their own sins. They suffered from the pain and injustice inflicted by others, and they suffered as a part of this broken and fractured world. The Apostle Paul offers a long list of the suffering he endured. He wrote, "I have worked harder, been put in prison more often, been whipped times without number, and faced death again and again. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was stoned. 3 times I was shipwrecked. Once I spent a whole night and a day adrift at sea. I've traveled on many long journeys. I faced danger from rivers and from robbers. I faced danger in the cities, in the deserts, and on the seas. I've worked hard and long, enduring many sleepless nights. I've been hungry and thirsty and have often gone without food. I've shivered in the cold without enough clothing to keep me warm." You know, that's only part of Paul's list. Even the great Apostle Paul, full of faith and bold in the gospel, knew what it was like to experience suffering. But Paul also found a secret source of strength in the midst of that suffering. As he put it, "For I can do everything through Christ who gives me strength." We are not just helpless, suffering sheep. We are sheep who belong to a shepherd. We have a shepherd who leads us through death's valley and onto still waters and green pastures. Sometimes his path requires that we follow him through suffering. In fact, he is the shepherd who suffered with us and for us. This is one of the great realizations of the gospel. Our God has suffered too, and by his suffering, he has filled us with new hope and perseverance. Let's explore how the reality of our suffering and the promise of God's faithfulness changes how we live. There is a story in the Old Testament about a man named Joseph. That's the perfect place to start. God helps me with suffering.